All right, good morning, guys. Quick sound check. Let me know you can hear me. Sound check 1, 2. How's everybody doing this morning? Walk slowly. Good morning. How's it going, Quinn? I hope everything is well with you. Oh, I'm just taking a look at some of yesterday's action. I did not actually get a chance to sit down at the computer until late last night, about like 11:30 or so. I checked quotes a couple times during the day on my phone, um, hiding from the heat outside. It's not supposed to be that bad here today, I don't believe. Luckily enough. Yesterday was rather rather hot, and the day before was too. All right. But anyway, so I was checking quotes yesterday. A couple things to consider, like going into today. Uh, I think it goes without saying that we've kind of expanded the range here a bit. If you look, so I've just got the S&Ps pulled up right now. If you look at a daily chart here, you can see this is a really big day. Yesterday was here on the S&Ps. We're looking at a range yesterday of the day on the day of 60 and a half points for the S&P 500. And so far in the overnight session, we've traded down to 66 quarters all the way up to 89 50s. So we've got like a 23-point range going into today as well. Now, again, yesterday I was moving. I couldn't be at the desk. So I wrote up the little kind of game plan for, the NASDAQ and kind of Apple and all that. And if we look, Apple was strong in the morning, got the nice gap up. It kind of extended into, that $12 to $15, range to the upside there when it was up over 220. And just ended up giving it all back. I thought over 220s. Realistically, we needed kind of over 222s there, 222s and some change for Apple. But if we were able to do that, I thought we were, potentially going up towards like 233.47, those overnight or those all-time highs up there in Apple. Again, that was not apparently in the cards yesterday. We had Apple earnings, we had FOMC, a bunch of things kind of came into play there. And one of the things I was watching for, well, two things I was watching for. Number one in the NASDAQ was if we could get above that 80.36 level that was up here, a good ways above. Again, daily chart there, super big bar. Yesterday's range in the NASDAQ, 210 points. That is a big move. And again, we were looking for, NASDAQ, if it could get above 80.36 this year on the FOMC announcement, that we had a lot of room to run. And for whatever reason, that just was not the case here yesterday. We weren't able to get that move. Whatever they said ended up being perceived as bad, whatever that is. And we ended up selling off, a fairly decent amount there, about 200 points or so here in the NASDAQ. Coming into today, though, we've got, S&P's down 0.13%, NASDAQ down 0.05%, Russell down 0.03%, and the Dow down, 0.07 here. Something interesting to note from the Russell here is that yesterday we traded the $1,600 number we've been looking for a while here in the Russell, and then ended up, I wasn't here to change charts around and stuff like that, but ended up kind of coming back down to, the 69.20 level we were watching for earlier on in the week. Again, that level has now been broken, but just find it interesting. We needed to get above that level, and if we could, we had the potential for a breakout up to 1600. We end up getting the breakout up to 1600, and then immediately give back a good portion of that move. And the real question is, does the Russell now just kind of expand its range here and then we decide that we're going to go lower or higher from here. And the real question is, let's dive into the charts, kind of take a look at where the S&Ps are and start from the top down. In terms of news announcements for the day, we really only have one thing at 10 a.m., which is ISM manufacturing numbers there. That's the only red thing I see on the board. There's going to be Ward's total vehicle sales all day. Nat gas at 10:30 if you're interested in trading nat gas. It is Thursday, August the 1st, brand new start to the month here. And so far, markets are not disappointing for the month of August, I would say. July definitely kicked off or ended off with a nice little bang there, flush, if you will. And we'll see what kind of August brings for us. So what I'm going to be looking at today, we've got S&P's currently at 2977 or 2978s here. That's going to be right around opening print. They're only, a couple points away from closing print there. And what I'm going to anticipate here, again, we've traded all the way up into 2989.50s, about 12 points higher, and we've traded about 12 points lower to 2966s here. So we're going to be opening right in the middle of the overnight range at this point. What I do anticipate and do see a possibility for here is the S&P's trading back down and actually getting into this 2956 quarter level. We didn't quite get there yesterday. We traded 29.58, so about a 2-point front run of that 56 quarter level there. There was a 56 quarter to 61.50 zone down in here we could trade to. We did hit that. That was going to be kind of the lower end of that zone, I think, for the day. Ended up being tagged there on the FOMC news. And the real question now is, we've got 3 straight hourly bars, one with a big bottoming tail to the downside. What are we going to do from there? And the short answer to that is, if we get above 29.95.75s, then I think we have a little bit of room to run to the upside. I don't know if that necessarily is going to completely change the trend here, because again, the hourly trend does not change until back over 30.16.50s here. So we've got some work to do if we want to regain this hourly uptrend at the moment. But on smaller time frames, that's why this level is outlined in purple. We could, in fact, get above this 95.75s and get a little bit of room to the upside running. So my game plan for today is to either do one of 3 things here with the S&Ps. Number 1 is short 29.95.75s if we trade up to it. Number 2 would be if we trade up through 29.95.75s, start to pull back, we're in a solid uptrend, maybe we get some small time confirmation closes above that level, then I think we can look long and potentially actually anticipate the complete reversal of that move from yesterday. Again, that's kind of a least likely scenario here. And then the third play that I see actually kind of following through today is where we don't actually rally to get those 95.75s. We end up having to use the opening print and capture a small time frame downtrend, wait for the first gyrations of the morning to finish out, start looking for small time frame downtrends to capitalize on, and ride that down into this 29.56 quarter to 29.61.50 zone again. Again, I think there's plenty of room there to work with. We can easily have 20 and 25 point targets here on the day. Just want to make sure we can get the right entry and get tight enough entries at specific points that make that risk reward worthwhile. And that the risk isn't, we're not risking like 8 points on a trade to try and capture 25 points, just because that's a fairly large stop loss there in the S&P. So it could throw your risk reward ratio off compared to what you normally risk on a given trade, right? 8 points could be, a multiple of what you're normally looking to risk on one contract trade there. So as long as all of that stuff lines up there, then I'm okay with taking a look at that in the S&Ps here, and one of those 3 scenarios potentially playing out for us here on the day. You want that, Cap? I can send you one. Yeah, it's pretty sick hat. I like it. Moving over to the Nasdaq here. So Nasdaq, similar situation. We've got the big flush down here, the 3 bars, the big bottoming tail. I mean, this tail alone. Yesterday's lows here, 77.82 quarters. The close of this bar, 79.08 quarter. So what is this, like 126 point tail on the Nasdaq right there? Like that's insane to me. So really, really big move there um, in the Nasdaq there at the end of the day. I had a level down here, 77.62s, which we haven't obviously quite traded. We got about 20 points away from there at this point. Same game plan here the um, for the Nasdaq. If we get above 79.0850s, then again, I think we have a shot at potentially reversing some of this move. If we are not able to get to there or not able to get even above it at that point, obviously, then I think we look at small time frame downtrends here. Let the morning figure itself out, and then start looking at small time frame downtrends to take this down into those 77.62s. Nasdaq has a ton of volatility right now. It is moving really, really quick, moving at like it's bouncing around quite a bit. And I think we could see upwards of a 30, even 40 point 5 minute bar off the open, and it's just going to whip back and forth. So regardless of what it is you're looking to do on the day, the first 5 minutes of the day here, I would not look to really do anything here. I think it's going to be an absolute whipsaw fest, and one probably for the record books, to be honest with you, given the move that we had coming from yesterday here in the Nasdaq. But these are the main two levels I'm going to be watching for today, and then obviously trying to stay on the right side of that trend. And if I can type the symbol correctly, we'll take a look at the Russell here. So Russell is currently trading 1579.40. It is actually up on the day, so we just got a little bit of a reprieve rally there. Russell is now up 0.15% on the day somehow. And this is one of the only markets here that I actually don't mind having long exposure to. Russell's just been, consolidating for so long, finally broke out, got that $1,600 number. So this is something in here where, potentially going to be looking to sell some put spreads or something like that in the Russell, especially if we can get down to those lower levels in both the S&Ps and the Nasdaq. I mean, that requires the Nasdaq to drop about 100 points. That requires the S&Ps to drop about 20 some points or so here. And if we can do that, depending on where the Russell is at that moment in time, then I think we can look to step in and sell some premium for tomorrow here in the Russell and kind of take advantage of a little bit of that. Yesterday would have been, a fairly picture perfect play right off of 1600s there, just selling something in and around and looking for containment in that zone. Would have allowed room for us to push higher, would have allowed room for us to go lower and potentially add and do a couple things like that. But again, wasn't at the desk yesterday here when the Russell was trading at 1600, and there was definitely some juice and some premium in there stepping in front of the Fed, which, essentially for the Russell ended up being a non-event for the most part. I mean, we're back to, call it 1580s, where we've just hung out and spent, quite a bit of time here recently in the Russell. So the only game plan I have in there is if the rest of the markets can get down to their lowest support levels, then at that time I'll look to the Russell to put on some type of premium selling position in there for this week. Next up here is going to be the Dow. And we can go ahead and clear the draw-in set. We went ahead and smashed through all levels of support that we had in the immediate term there in the Dow, and this thing just continued to push its way lower. We did finally hold right down in here. There's a level at 26,726s. We pushed through that level, 26,832s, or sorry, lower that level, 26,693s. So we pushed through that level by, roughly 30 points there, which isn't bad considering the movement we were seeing, all day yesterday. We've traded down in the overnight session so far 26,729s, so about 3 ticks in front of that level. What I'm going to pay attention to for the day again is going to be much of the same. And what I would honestly picture perfect like to see is where the S&Ps, the NASDAQ come down, trade their support levels because they're just a little bit lower than where price is currently trading at for us, or where price traded to yesterday. And the Dow is actually able to hold this 26,726 level. And if the Dow can hold that 26,726 level for us while the rest of the markets, sold off and get new lows, at least in the S&Ps and the NASDAQ, new lows through yesterday's lows, that I think will be a picture perfect play back to the long side as a support play for the Dow. How long essentially we can hold longs for is going to be the real kind of toss up here. Is this going to be, a little bit of a dead cat bounce as we are testing support, and then essentially we're just going to end up breaking through those support levels overall? Or are these, some decent support levels that are actually going to hold us, potentially, stop the bloodshed here from the FOMC event and start to work our way back higher? A lot of that will start to kind of unfold between today and tomorrow, and we should have a good solid picture, overall as to where this market is looking to go in the next move here. So that's what I'm looking for on the day. Again, please, please, please be cautious on the opening bell here. Let this market do what it's going to do. NASDAQ had a 210 point range yesterday. You got plenty of time. There's going to be opportunities here. We're going to have a decent range on the day. And if we end up kind of consolidating, then we should have a nice break one direction or the other tomorrow here, and just have to exercise some patience with this type of volatility we're currently seeing. So anyways, that's what I've got for you guys this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out. If you are new around here, click that subscribe button and turn on the little bell notifications so you get notified each and every morning when I go live about 9 o'clock. A number of you reached out through Instagram, and congrats on the new place and stuff like that. Really appreciate you guys' support. Really love the community and team we're building here at MLT. And if you want to join that community and the team a little bit more in depth, there's a link in the description below where you can join me as well as everybody else in the MLT Discord. We'd love to have you guys in there. Take care, trade safe today, and I will see you guys on the next video.